The second slump. Why creators crash hardest right after their first big win. The hit that proved you could do it is often the same thing that makes the follow-up feel impossible. One video hits 900,000 views. One product sells 400 units in a weekend. One post gets shared by an account 10 times your size. And then, almost on schedule, the next 6 weeks feel like wading through wet sand. You post, you launch, you show up, and nothing lands the way the first one did. If you've quietly started wondering whether the win was a fluke, you're not broken and you're not washed up. You've hit the second slump, predictable dip that ambushes creators right after their first real success. And it has almost nothing to do with talent draining out of you overnight. What actually happens after a breakout moment? Before the win, you had nothing to lose. You posted, launched, or shipped without much weight attached to it, because nobody was watching closely and there was no bar to clear. The moment something breaks out, that changes overnight. Now there's a number in your head, the view count, the sales figure, the follower spike, and every new piece of work gets silently measured against it. Psychologists call this a shift from intrinsic motivation, I'm making this because I want to evaluative pressure, I'm making this to prove the last one wasn't luck. That shift alone is enough to make your next 10 pieces of work feel stiffer, more self-conscious, and worse, even if your actual skill hasn't moved an inch. This is the same mechanism behind the classic sophomore slump in music and film. The second album or movie that underperforms not because the artist got worse, but because the first one was often made with total creative freedom and the second one was made while staring at a scoreboard. Creators on Instagram, TikTok, and email lists hit an accelerated version of the same thing, sometimes within days instead of years, because the feedback loop is instant and public. Why chasing the exact formula backfires? The most natural instinct after a hit is to reverse engineer it. Same hook, same format, same product angle, run it back. Sometimes that works once. Usually it doesn't. And here's the part that trips people up. The failure of the repeat gets read as evidence the original was a fluke, when really it's evidence that audiences respond to freshness and instinct, not templates. Your hit worked because it was the first time you said something that way. Saying it the same way again removes the one variable, surprise, that made it work in the first place. Reframe. Your breakout wasn't a formula you have to defend. It was proof that your instincts, applied once, produced something people wanted. The job now is to trust the instincts again on a new idea, not to photocopy the old one. The identity shift nobody warns you about. Before the win, you were someone trying to build an audience or a side income. After the win, even briefly, you're someone who did it once. And that new identity comes with an invisible job description you never agreed to. Stay relevant. Don't disappoint the people who found you because of the hit. Keep the number going up. Creators describe this as feeling like an imposter in reverse. Not, I don't deserve to be here, but I don't know how to be the person who did that again. That's an identity problem, not a content problem. And it needs a different fix than post more or try harder. The slump isn't proof the first win was luck. It's proof you're now making decisions under an audience's gaze instead of in private, and that changes the work whether you notice it or not. Turning one lucky spike into a repeatable system. The fastest way out of the second slump isn't a better piece of content. It's giving the spike somewhere to land. A viral moment that only lives on a platform's feed evaporates within days, no matter how big it was. A viral moment that funnels people to something you actually sell keeps paying you long after the algorithm moves on. This is the single biggest gap between creators who turn one hit into a business and creators who treat it as a nice memory. If your bio link during the spike pointed at nothing more than another social profile, you likely converted a fraction of the attention you were owed. This is exactly the moment to have a real storefront ready before the next spike hits. not scrambled together during it. A single link, store.fan your name, can hold a digital download, a mini course, a coaching call, or a free lead magnet that captures emails from everyone who almost bought. When you create your store ahead of time, the next viral moment converts into customers and subscribers instead of just a screenshot for your highlight reel. A practical reset for the weeks after a breakout. You don't fix the second slump by willing yourself to feel less pressure. You fix it by structurally lowering the stakes of your next few attempts so pressure has less to grab onto. Here's a concrete sequence that works for creators coming off a viral post, a breakout launch, or any moment where expectations suddenly jumped. Post or launch something small and low stakes within 72 hours. Not a follow-up to the hit, a completely unrelated idea to break the pattern of everything being measured against it. Write down the actual mechanics of the win in plain language. What problem it solved, why it was timely, why you specifically. So you separate the reusable instinct from the surface-level format. Make sure a saleable offer exists behind your bio link before your next attempt goes out. Even a simple template or guide, so any future spike has something to convert into. Set a private benchmark for the next 30 days based on your pre-hit baseline, not the spike. The spike was an outlier by definition and shouldn't be your new floor. Tell one trusted peer or mentor about the slump out loud. Naming, "I think I'm in a post-win dip," out loud does more to diffuse the pressure than any productivity hack. A live storefront link in your bio that leads to an actual offer, not just your profile. At least one low-priced digital product or free lead magnet ready to capture new interest. A clear price and description written before traffic arrives, not scrambled together during it. A way to email or message people who show interest but don't buy immediately. A private note on what you think really drove the last win, separate from its format. What a stable offer looks like when the pressure hits. Look at how a well-built storefront absorbs a spike instead of just riding it. A live example store shows the pattern clearly. A clean cover section, 1 or 2 flagship products up top, and a lead magnet for anyone not ready to buy yet. Nothing about that structure depends on repeating the exact conditions of a lucky post. It just needs traffic to arrive somewhere, once, and it does the converting from there. That's the antidote to formula chasing. Build the system once, then let different content, different hooks, and different ideas all feed into it, instead of trying to recreate one specific piece of content forever. It also matters that delivery is instant and automatic. A buyer pays and gets their download link or course access on screen and by email immediately, with no manual follow-up from you. During a slump, that reliability is worth more than it sounds. One less thing riding on your mood or bandwidth that week. Connect Stripe or add a PayPal email once, and Apple Pay and Google Pay work automatically after that. Money lands directly in your account with no separate wallet to chase down. Worth checking. Paid plans carry 0% platform fees, and there's a free plan to get started. So building this safety net before your next spike costs you time, not money. Compare the details on pricing before you assume it's a bigger commitment than it is. Playing the long game instead of chasing the one number. The creators who get past the second slump fastest are the ones who stop treating the breakout as a peak to defend and start treating it as one useful data point among many. It told you something real, that an idea, a format, or an offer resonated with more people than usual, at least once. It did not tell you that everything from here on has to clear that same bar, and it did not tell you the well is dry if the next 10 things underperform it. Consistency, not intensity, is what turns one spike into an actual creator business. And consistency is much easier to sustain when there's a real storefront, real email list, and real product doing quiet work in the background, whether or not this week's post pops. The second slump isn't a verdict on your talent. It's a tax on having done something worth noticing. Pay it by lowering the stakes, separating the instinct from the format, and putting a real, Sellable offer behind your name so the next spike, whenever it comes, has somewhere useful to go. For more on building that kind of steady foundation between big moments, the blog has guides on everything from pricing to launch timing, and contact support anytime you're setting up your store and want a second pair of eyes on it. Key takeaways. The second slump is a pressure problem, not a skill problem. It hits precisely because you now have something to protect. Chasing the exact format of your hit usually flattens it. Audiences reward the underlying instinct, not the copy-paste. A visible offer you can sell on your own terms turns one lucky spike into a repeatable system, which is the real cure. Treating the win as a data point instead of an identity keeps you from freezing up on the next attempt. Momentum comes back fastest when you lower the stakes of the next post or launch, not raise them. Start your creator store, free, at store.fan.